Good morning, everybody. Welcome to our grade 6 coding class for today, 27 July 2020. I hope everybody had a wonderful weekend and that you have rested out nicely. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Mike Gelderneys, and I just want to welcome you. And today we are going to focus on conditionals and loops, just practicing them in a little bit. And we will be doing that in our harvester little farmer puzzles. So I'm sure that after today's lesson, we will really cement down how we go about using our conditionals and our loops. Okay, so like I said, I hope everybody had a wonderful weekend and that you rested out nicely. And I also want to thank everybody for those of you that send me your assessments. I have started receiving them, so I want to encourage you, if you haven't done it yet, please do so. Okay, guys, our focus today, what are our objectives? Nest conditionals. To analyze multiple value conditions using if, else if, and else logic. Okay, we will be using those conditionals if and if else, and we will be nesting them inside our loops. So, and also to pair a loop and conditional statement together. It probably sounds a little strange right now, but we've done it before. You'll see once we start doing it, you'll see, okay, well, there's aspects that you recognize already. So I'm sure it won't be too much of an issue. Okay, guys, why do we focus on this? It is just practicing the use of conditionals in different scenarios helps to develop our understanding of what conditionals can do. We will use conditionals to help the farmer know when to harvest crops. New patterns will emerge, and we will use creativity and logical thinking to determine the conditions where code should be run and repeated. Remember, coding, it is the process of creating instructions for computers using programming languages. And with the program that or the platform that we create, we are using the Blockly coding, which has then JavaScript built in. So you can always look at the JavaScript in the back. Sequencing, that's probably the most important part of our code, is the process of combining things in a particular order to make sure that everything runs smoothly. A condition, that is basically what we will be focusing on today. The statement that a program checks to see if it is true or false. If true, an action is taken. Otherwise, that action is ignored. And then we will also be focusing quite a lot on loops, using those conditionals inside the loops. And then a loop, and like I said, we've done loops quite a bit, so I don't think that should be a problem. The action of doing something over and over again. We just have to remember that there are different kinds of loops. We have our normal loops, and then we will have our while loops. So a program will run while a condition is true. We have our until loops. A condition will run until a condition is no longer true or true. There's our while loop that repeats while a condition is true. Okay, and then here I just quickly wanted us to review our directions. This is pretty simple, so I'm going to run through it very quickly. Remember, our main focus just when working with direction It's just that we have to focus in which direction our character is moving or facing. Okay, so if our character, we have to decide which direction he is coming from and moving in. So a left turn from any direction will be different. So if we can imagine walking in from the left, a left turn will be up. Walking in from the right, a left turn will be down. And then the same with top and bottom. If we walk in from the bottom, a left will just be on our left-hand side. But if coming from the top of the screen, a left turn will be towards the right-hand side. Okay, so we just have to remember and then envision yourself being in the position that if you walk in a certain direction, which side is your left, which side is your right, and then turning accordingly. Okay, guys, so the same with if we turn right, depending on which direction we come in from. Coming in from the left, a right turn will be down. Coming in from the right, right turn will be up. Coming in from the bottom of the screen, walking up, a right will be towards the right-hand side. But coming in from the top, your right will be towards the left of the screen. So that is just something to keep in mind. It is something silly that we don't always think about. And I've seen sometimes we kind of I even still make the mistake because you don't really think about it. You're just looking at the side of the screen, and then something as silly as this can throw your code out entirely. Okay, guys, so this is what we will be looking at today in Codeorg. They are all our blocks that we will be dealing with. We have our normal commands, but then here we have a repeat until there are pumpkins, a while path ahead, and a while there is corn. So we have our while loops, we have our until loop, and then we have our conditionals. We have if there, and if there, do else. Okay, so remember, and our if conditional, our blue block, our dark blue blocks, if conditional, our farmer will, or our harvester will perform an action if it is true. So if we can look at our actions down here, we have 2 actions. There will be a third, I think, because I see lettuce here. So I assume that there will be a pick lettuce as well. So if there is, let's say here, lettuce, what are we going to do? We are going to pick it. So only if. If there isn't, then nothing will happen. That is what's cool about conditionals. It's a statement that checks to see if it's true. So if our farmer moves across the screen, if there is vegetables for him to pick, and we've put that in our code, then he will pick it or she will pick it. Otherwise, just ignore it. Now, if we have more than one action to check per block, we will be looking at our if else. Now, if there is corn, our farmer will pick it. If not, what else is there to do? So we have to remember to put that in. But just one thing here you have to remember as well. By using the else, you have to make sure that there are actually 2 actions to perform. What I mean by that is, say for example, there's our little crop. It's starting to grow. We don't know what is underneath. We don't know whether it's corn or whether it's lettuce or pumpkins. If there is corn, I'm going to check for corn. Otherwise, I'm going to check for lettuce. But then that means that if there isn't, I am going to look for lettuce, and then I might be running into a problem there. Then we just have to remember we can always put another if inside an if else. Okay, so if there is corn, pick corn. Else, if there is lettuce, pick lettuce. We just have to remember silly little things like that, because now we tell them that if there isn't corn, do this. Else, do this. So, and then in certain cases, our farmer will not be able to perform that action. But this is just something to keep in mind, guys. We will be looking at all these today. And just a little reminder, I know we've dealt with the harvester before. Anywhere where we see these little sprouts come up, these little green leaves come up, we are not sure what the crop underneath will be. So that could be anything. It could either be lettuce, corn, or pumpkins. And remember our number that we see at the bottom of any given crop, that is just the amount that you have to pick on that specific block. Okay, so I think that will be all. Yes, there we go. So that will be all for now. So let's go to code.org. If you give me a moment, I'm going to go cross over, and then I will share the link with everybody. There we go. If you guys get there, you can watch the video as well. Okay, there we go, guys. There's the link in the chat box. And please remember, if you guys get in, just let me know I'm in or here so that I know we can continue. Okay, I see Bless is in already. Awanda is in. Okay, I'm going to give you guys a couple of extra seconds or so just to get ready. Remember, you guys can watch that video in the meantime. Okay, and then I'm going to skip this video, go straight to puzzle number 2. Okay, let's look at our instructions. Let's quickly look at our toolbox. What do we have available? We have move, turn, if, pick, and then we have our standard repeat block that we can assign a value to, and now while path ahead do. Okay, so let's see what they would like us to do. They say, corn, you help me harvest today. Help the harvester check her row of corn to see if anything is ready. Okay, I see we've got some new students joining us. Let me just quickly share the link again. Oops, shared it privately. Let me share it to everybody. There we go. So guys, help the harvester check her row of corn to see if anything is ready to pick. Use conditionals to look at each sprout. Every stalk will have either 0 or 1 piece of corn ready to harvest. Okay, so we're not even sure whether there will be any corn. So that is where our conditions play quite a nice role. And I've kind of explained to you guys with the apple tree before. So you will only pick apples if there are any, otherwise you will just move on. So it's the same thing that she needs to do. She needs to check each block. If there are corn, then she needs to pick it. Otherwise Otherwise, she just ignores it. Okay, so what do? First things first, we just check our first block. Remember, we just get something on our workspace to start our code with. So what will we do? We will move forward, and then once we are there, we will check. What are we going to check? We're going to check whether there is any corn. So move forward. If there is corn, what are we going to do? We are going to pick that corn. Okay, so now we will just check that on every block. And what's nice about an if conditional, we can see that the second block, there's nothing there. It doesn't matter because the program checks to see if that statement is true. If not, it will just ignore it. So now you can decide what you want to use, because it's easy for us to check here. 1, 2, 3, 4. There are five lines in her that we need to check, or 5 blocks in one line that we need. So we can just use the standard repeat 5 times or while path ahead. So remember, the while path ahead is a nice one for if we don't know how many blocks there are for her to check. Then, or there are just so many, you don't want to go and count them all first. So this is easy now because we can just see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we can do that. But the while path ahead, maybe there's a very long line and we don't want to check each or count each little block. We'll just, while there is a path, what is she going to do? She's going to move forward, and if there is corn, she is going to pick it. So either one would have worked. So let's quickly run this and check it. There we go. And you saw she went all the way to the end. That is what's nice about the while loops. Okay. Let's read our instructions. And there's a little terrible, funny joke. If you, I'm not sure how you see that. Let us collect both crops from this row. This garden is all mixed up. It has both corn and lettuce. Help the harvester pick the items that are ready for harvesting. Each plant will either have 1 corn or 1 lettuce. And remember, they tell us this 1 corn, 1 lettuce, because later on there might be more than 1 in every block. And then we have to write our code to adjust that if there are more units or more pieces inside each block, we have to perform that action over and over again in that specific block. So let's quickly look. Remember what we always do, we just try and write our first block, just get something on our workspace. So what are we going to do? We are going to move forward. But let me just quickly check. I always want to check what's in my toolbox, what is available for me to use. So also while path ahead, repeat, there's pick lettuce, pick corn. And now I have 2 conditional blocks. I have if there is, do else, and if there is lettuce. So just an if and an if else. So straight away, because of our previous puzzle, I'm going to use while path ahead so I can walk all the way down the path. What am I going to do down the path? I'm going to move forward. Then if there is corn, and this is, I think this might where I want to show you what's going to happen. If there is corn, what am I going to do? I'm going to pick corn. Else, what else am I going to do? Now, this is what I hope this works this way. And they didn't just change it. So there we go. Else, pick lettuce. Let's run it. Now look at that. I can't harvest that crop from here. Okay. So this is what I explained earlier. Now we've given our harvester two conditions. One, check to see if there is corn. If there isn't, that's okay. Then else pick lettuce. Now in that block, there wasn't anything. There wasn't any lettuce, but there also wasn't any corn. Okay, so this is where we have to just remember. In our if-else condition, we have to make sure that our program doesn't run into the problem where it checks the first condition. Here it checks the first condition. But then if that condition is not true, we tell it else do this. So here we told it, check for our farmer, check for corn. There wasn't any corn. But then we told our farmer, then if there isn't any corn, pick lettuce. And that's where she ran into the problem. There wasn't any lettuce to pick either. And there we go. Bless said we should put if. There we go. We should have put if inside the if else. Put it inside and then pick lettuce inside that. Because now we have two conditions. Only pick if there is corn or if there is lettuce. If there isn't any of it, then we're just going to move forward again. So you guys just have to remember that. And remember, we can nest our blocks within the others. So don't be scared to test these things. Now I will move, if there is corn, pick it, else if there is lettuce, pick it, otherwise move on. So let's reset and run again. There we go. Great stuff. Okay, guys, so here we go. Next one, we're just coming from the other side. That is just why I ran through our directions with you, because they were going to put the farmer all around, up and down and left. So we just remember. But luckily, I actually just noticed we're not even using our directions in this one. We're just using if path, move forward. That's okay. Corn, lettuce, and pumpkins. Help me harvest them all. Each plant will have either one piece of corn or one head of lettuce or one pumpkin. Okay, so what are we going to do? We are going to move forward. But let's check our toolbox and presume that we've got the move while path ahead. There we go, while our path ahead. What are we going to do? We're going to move forward. And now we want to check each one for either lettuce, corn, or pumpkins. So let me quickly see, what do you guys suggest? What do you think we can do? Now let's quickly go for this. If there is corn, what are we going to do? We are going to pick corn. Else, if there is lettuce, what are we going to do? We are going to pick lettuce. And this is what's cool about our if-else block. We can put another, if there are pumpkins, put it inside the else. Remember, if there is corn, do this, else do this, or do this. So that is quite cool. You can put more than one conditional inside. So that is just nice. So let's quickly, so if there are pumpkins, pick pumpkins. And let's quickly see, Bless also gave me an answer. If there is lettuce, pick lettuce. The same for the pumpkins and corn. There we go. So if there is corn, pick it. Else, check for lettuce, check for pumpkins. And remember, we use if, because if there isn't anything, we should also be able to move on. Okay, so let's run and see what happens. One pumpkin, there we go. Corn, lettuce, corn, pumpkin. Awesome. And remember, if I reset and I run again, it changes. Pumpkin, corn, lettuce, corn, pumpkin. Well, I'm not sure whether that changed, but most of the time our code changes in Codeorg. So it needs to adjust. We have to always make sure that our code, no matter what they give us, will be able to run to the end. Okay, now we're coming from a different direction. We're coming from the top. Gosh, now the lettuce is growing in clusters. The harvester wants to pick everything from her lettuce garden. Each plant will now have more than one head of lettuce on it. So the harvester will need to keep picking while there is still lettuce growing. So let's quickly go to our toolbox, see what we have available. We have, look at that, we have a new cool loop inside our toolbox. We have the ones we've had, our commands, our conditionals, if, else, and if, pick lettuce, and then here we have while path ahead, which we've been using, and now we have the while there is lettuce. So the same applies with when we moved while path ahead. Now we're also going to pick lettuce while there is any lettuce, we will pick it. So while path ahead, what are we going to do? We will just move forward. Okay, then if, but now we're not going to use if, because now if there is lettuce, pick lettuce. Yes, that's great. But then it will only pick once, because that is, pick lettuce is only a command of one. Now, while there is lettuce, pick lettuce. Remember, if there isn't anything, it won't pick it, because the condition is while there is, pick it. If there isn't, then it doesn't matter. Yes. And Isabella said, they also say, remember, this garden has only lettuce. So that is why they only gave us the while there is lettuce. So we don't have to worry about it. It's just that the reason they give us the sprout is because each sprout now will deliver a different value. So let's quickly pick lettuce and see what happens. See, 2, 8, and 4. So while there is lettuce, our harvester will pick it. There we go. So this is what you guys just have to remember between the conditionals and our loops. What will work best in each situation? I just want to go back there quickly, reset, and I want to use the step because I just want to pause. I don't want it to run all the way through. So step, there we go. So we see the different values assigned to our lettuce. So we have to make sure that once our harvester starts moving, that she will get everything in that specific square. Okay. So let's reset and run so we can move on to puzzle number 6. Okay, here we go. And straight away, I can see that there's a new block in our Toolbox, but let's quickly read first what do they want us to do. And I see Kia just joined us, so let me just add the link inside again. There we go. Now guys, straight away, like I said, I see there's a new block inside our toolbox. And what a bountiful crop. This field has clusters of corn and lettuce growing together with one pumpkin at the end. Can you harvest everything? Now let's look at our toolbox, move, turn, and then repeat until. Now we have our while loops and we have our until loops. And I think we have, no, we don't have the standard loop. And then we have our conditionals. So that if you can imagine, I just want to, now my mouse is moving everything. Just click on it somewhere. Okay, no, still jumping up and down. Okay, guys, so if I look at this new block I've got here, repeat until there are pumpkins. That's an interesting one. So now I can imagine that I don't have, I can do the while path ahead, but I don't have, I have pick pumpkins. There we go. So that's cool. But I quite like this because I know now that I can either use my while path ahead, do this, and I can see inside my if, let's see if there is lettuce, if everything is there. There we go. If there is lettuce, if there are pumpkins, if there is corn, else. So there are a couple of ways I can go about solving this puzzle. First of all, we can do while path ahead. We can do it the same way we've been doing it. What are we going to do? While path ahead, move forward, and then I have to check if. something went off on my side and I quickly had to reset and go on to a different Wi-Fi. So I'm not sure exactly what happened, but I'm back and I hope you guys can all hear me again nicely. I just want to apologize for that. Okay, guys, so where were we? Sorry about that, guys. There we go. I see everybody's back. Maybe it's load shedding. I wonder what that was. Yes. Okay, guys, so let's look at where we were. I said our workspace, we've got 9 blocks instead of 8, but I'm going to run it and we can have a look to see if this works. It should be fine. There we go. I'm going to check it all the way. Now, what was the problem here? What was the problem there? Well, look at that, because if there are pumpkins, do pick pumpkins. Now, that was only one action. So what happened? I left some stuff behind. So we know we cannot just do this. So let me quickly just see. I see Kia says I am glitching a little bit now. I hope that it's a bit better. Okay, so we have to change something. Our if won't work. So while, we have to try and use our while. And I see Ndova also just quickly wants the link. I'm going to copy that and paste it. There we go. So, okay, we know this isn't going to work. I have to take that out and try something else. Remember, while there is corn, I am going to pick corn. While, then I can try and use that with all the others as well. While there is, let's see, while there is lettuce, what are we going to do? I just have to change that. While there is lettuce, pick lettuce, and then also while there are pumpkins, pick pumpkins. Now I can see again, I've got 9 blocks instead of 8, but I'm sure this time it's going to work. So let's see. Run our code and look at that. While there is lettuce or corn, look at that. I'm picking it up all the time. Now we have to ask ourselves, what can we change to make our code 8 blocks long and not 9 blocks long? Now that is where it's important for us to check what we have available in our toolbox. We can use the repeat until there are pumpkins. So now we don't even have to use the while path ahead. We don't even have to use the while path ahead, and then we don't need to use the while there are pumpkins loop, because we are going to repeat everything until there are pumpkins. So let's put everything inside. This is quite a cool one. Let's throw the while path ahead away. So let's throw that away, the while path ahead. And then we can take out the while there are pumpkins as well. The only thing we have to remember, let's reset. Now we can see we have 7 blocks instead of 8. But there's one action we still have to perform at the end. And that one action will be to pick the pumpkin. Okay, so just pick your pumpkins. So we will repeat all this inside until there are pumpkins, because our pumpkin is the last action. So what are we going to repeat until there are pumpkins? Move forward, check for corn, check for lettuce. And then once we get there, the last thing we have to do is to pick our pumpkin. So let's reset and run and see what happens. And then there we go. We pick the pumpkin at the end. Awesome. Well done, guys. So what I want just to guys encourage what I've just showed you guys, or what I've indicated to you guys now. Write the code that write your code, what you know, see what happens, and then check. You know what? Okay, something is not quite right. They want me to use a little less blocks. See if you can adjust your code in any way to achieve that goal. But if your code works, that's also fine. Remember, for now is we only want to focus on our end goal. We want to achieve our end goal. So if you use a few blocks extra, that is also okay. Don't worry about that. Guys, and then I see, unfortunately, we did run out of time. I just want to apologize for that glitch we've had in our lesson. Tomorrow, we will continue with our harvester, and we've got some interesting puzzles coming up. So I want to just say thank you for joining us, and then I hope to see all of you again tomorrow, same time, same place. I just want to share our email address and this nice quote from John Romero. He said, "You might not think that programmers are artists, but programming is an extremely creative profession. It's logic-based creativity." That is so true. We can do so much with our coding. So keep practicing, and then I will see you tomorrow. If you have any questions, or if you want to send me an email, there we go, mgeldenhuis81@gmail.com. Or our school, if you have any questions, stemdigitalschool@africateengeeks.co.za. Bye-bye, guys.